Hi, and welcome to Real Trail Talk. I am Donovan D'Souza from The Long Ways Better.
Je m'appelle Mark from The Life of Pi. Welcome to episode 104. Excuse my poor French, but it's on theme for today because we have Tilly Johnson from Tilly Hikes to talk about the Hexatrek. Welcome, Tilly.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
It's all right. We've been trying to have you on ever since you finished the trek, and we finally got you in, so fantastic.
Yeah, I was looking at the email we had, and it was like ages ago that we wrote this.
We are in the studio, and we're going to talk about the Hexatrek, which is a 3,000 kilometre hike across France. Do you want to start with... Actually, not the Hexatrek. We'll start with who is Tilly? So kind of like your life and your hiking background and how you came to hike the Hexatrek.
That's a big question. Hi, I'm Tilly. I'm West Aussie, 28 years old. And yeah, just always loved the outdoors. Professionally, I did a degree in geology and chemistry and a master's of teaching. So I've been a teacher, and then I've just been traveling the last 3.5 years. And then, yeah, my hiking's really taken off in the last 5 years.
Yeah. So you've done sections of the Bib, you've done the Camino de Santiago.
Yes.
And you've also spent a couple of years in Canada. Well, that was doing teaching, was it?
I was canoe tripping. So working, yeah. So I was working with kids, and we were going on canoe trips, like week-long trips out there, and yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you did do some hiking while you were there?
Yeah, just day hikes. And, you know, with the canoe trips, some side trips as well, like hiking-wise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when I went out west to like Alberta, which is just more mountainous territory out there, I did some hiking through there too, yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice. So I guess we'll start with what is the Hexatrek? Just some basic information for those that don't know of it, because it is a fairly recent addition to the world hiking scene.
That's true, yeah. I think it was like 5 years ago they kind of pulled it all together, because Europe has this incredible, like, extensive network of trails, and the Hexatrek Foundation essentially joined a lot of existing trails together, and that was the creation of the Hexatrek, which is 3,038 kilometers. I think 138,000 meters of elevation gain. Oof. Yeah, it was quite a lot, and traverses the French border. So France is shaped like a hexagon, hence the name Hexa in the Hexatrek.
Right. Yeah,
and it's like half of the hexagon that it does. So yeah, that's the Hexatrek in a nutshell.
So what made you pick this one to do? Because is this your first, like, really long through hike?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd done the Camino de Santiago to get a taste of what, like, it's like to walk a long distance over, you know, a month. But this was my first proper hike that was over 2 weeks long. And, you know, 4.5 months it took in the end. And I had a few trails in mind, but the Hexatrek just really sung to me. It's such like a culturally rich experience, and they're so stunning. Like, there's so many areas that I had no idea about, but France is just this incredible country. Natural beauty is like unmatched to anything I'd actually seen before, and it was new, so I was like, that really appealed to me as well. But that was essentially why, I chose the Hexatrek.
Yeah. So you'd be among some of the first people to have ever done the Hexatrek, in a sense. Yeah,
there had been a handful of Aussies that had hiked it, and I was in contact with them prior. And one of the original hikers as well, Lauren, had hiked it a few years ago, and I was in contact with her. But yeah, we were one of the larger cohorts that had come through. It's growing every year. Mm-hmm. But yeah, not that many people beforehand. Yeah, just starting to gain that little bit of knowledge and popularity among, like, the local communities as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And I guess with you picking this one ahead of other ones, what were the other ones that potentially could have been the ones that you did?
I actually had a permit for the Pacific Crest Trail, so in America. So that's 4,000 kilometers from Mexico to Canada. And I was really, tied between that and the Hexatrek, and I did a big pros and cons list, and, you know, one afternoon I was like, I just have to make a decision. And timing-wise, like, the Hexatrek just worked out timing-wise, and the cultural parts of it, you know, just ticked the boxes. And I knew I needed to go back to Australia. So it was kind of on the way as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had friends in Europe that I wanted to visit. You know, it was working. There wasn't some really big decision. It just was kind of like, pick one.
Yeah, a good 3.5 months just layover because you needed to get back to Australia.
just a quick stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah.
Nice. I guess we'll talk about gear. We've got a list, and I'm going to skip ahead a bit because I think it makes sense. But what was your basic setup? Because 3,000 kilometers over a long time and having to deal with the mountains as well. What was like your base setup, your weight, any favorite bits of gear that you had along the way?
Yeah, so my base weight was not light by a lot of thru hikers. I was 8.5 kilos, which is still light, but it's not ultra light like many others that you meet out there. And it certainly changed throughout the time that I was walking as well. I sent a lot of bits home and gained a little bit of gear while I was out there as well. So my basic setup was I had an Osprey Ija backpack, which is kind of their ultralight range of Osprey, 48 litres, which worked perfectly for me. You know, it held up to 7 days of food sometimes. Only just. It was like bursting at the seams, and I was like hoping it wouldn't rain because, yeah, that wouldn't have been good.
Is that the one that kind of looks a bit like a garbage bag? Like it's really thin material?
No,
No?
it's actually like still quite nice.
Okay.
I love a structured backpack. Like
Yeah.
it's non-negotiable for me, so that's why I chose that one.
Because a friend of mine has one of the Osprey ultralights.
Yeah.
And then I laughed when I saw it because it looked like a garbage bag with straps on it.
Some of them do. Like some of them look like so uncomfortable to wear.
But this one was a good one.
Yeah, it turned out really well. I didn't know if it was or it wasn't, but it proved itself right, and I made a good decision. It was a very last minute decision. I was in Ireland before that, and I was like, I just need a bigger backpack. And yeah. And then in terms of my sleep setup, I had a big Agnes tent, which I'm a huge fan of. Tiger Wall.
So am I.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. I have the Tiger Wall ultralight 2-person tent.
Yep.
Highly recommend having a I've forgotten what it's called. What do you call it when it's you have poles?
Oh yeah,
freestanding. There we go.
Yeah,
highly recommend having a freestanding tent for this kind of hiking, especially in the mountains. It just pitching is just so much easier.
Yeah.
And then I'm such a cold sleeper, so I got all my gear in Canada. I have the Mountain Hardware sleeping bag, which goes down to negative 18 degrees.
Wow.
And like it got down to negative 9 at one point. And it was good. It was perfect for me, but not for everybody. And then I had the Nemo Extreme mat, again, because I'm a cold sleeper. So that was kind of my basic, big 4 items that I had.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, and a a piece of gear that I absolutely love. Super not flattering. It takes a while. I think you have to be in hiking for a few years for this to really appeal to you. But a rain poncho, like a backpack, a rain poncho.
I just bought one and I haven't tested it out yet.
It's when you've graduated, I think,
Did you have the belt to tie it all together as well?
No.
So instead of it flapping wild,
Okay.
there's a belt attachment to keep it all neat.
No way.
That's next level. So
Okay.
you have to
so
get
that's
one.
the next thing then. Okay.
Yeah. There's one that goes for the Arn pack. So I'm an Arn pack guy, and they have one called the Water Wizard that they don't make anymore because it was so ridiculous looking. And because have you seen with the Arn packs they've got the front.
The fun bags.
The fun bags, right? And it was form-fitting to the front bags. So you just look so stupid.
What they needed was
Whoever was in
something
charge
where
of
the nipples are to
But yeah, I agree. That it takes a bit of courage to go out like that.
whoever was in charge of their naming, I applaud.
Yeah,
With the Water Wizard. Oh,
I would buy it on the name below.
Yeah. I have looked to see if there's new old stock, and it's just so hard to find because I would love to have one just for that name alone.
right. Oh, So good.
But I did see a lot of comments on your white shirt that you kept wearing, and if there's going to be like a Tilly hikes range so people can be like Tilly.
No, unfortunately, I'm not releasing any hiking shirts. I don't know, white. Yeah, it's a bold choice, but you know, the sun. I would just argue with it. I just like white. That's all that I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a style.
Yeah.
It got dirty, but I still have it and it still functions. So, bit
Awesome.
of nappy sand fixes everything.
I think with a lot of trails, it's completely variable what kind of accommodation you'll find. Some trails it's nothing. Some trails it's something like the Bibbulmun where you get some huts and campsites, and some where you get refugios, which is quite common in Europe. What's that like on the Hexatrek? And I guess does it vary because some sections might have been quite developed, and then you've got bits that are linking, as you said, they've linked bits together. What's the accommodation like on this trail?
So I think one of the reasons why France is so popular for hiking is that they allow what's called bivouacking. So bivouacking is where you set up your tent after sunset, essentially, or just before sunset, and then you pack up after sunrise and you leave no trace. So that's like no fires, you make sure you pick up all your rubbish. And, it's just common sense. You're not going to bivouac, near someone's house or near a road, or in some national parks it's not allowed, but there is a lot of space in France where that's allowed if you can find like a nice flat spot.
Right.
So that was a lot of what I decided to do, was to bivouac. It's cheap, it's free, with the same thing, it's free, and there's a lot of beautiful places, and I like my tent. I like to sleep in my tent. I prefer it to most other places, so that's what I chose a lot. And the Hexatrek app, which is what I used, kind of indicated in the line of the trail, it was either red or green. Red indicating no bivouacking, and green indicating that you could bivouac if you could find a suitable place.
Yep.
Along with that, there was a lot of shelters, because a lot of the time you're going through mountainous regions, for example, like the Vosges, the Jura, which is through Switzerland, the French Alps and the Pyrenees. There's a lot of unmanned mountain huts that you can stay in if they're all free. And I had a lot of really interesting weather, so they did come in handy a few times. Or even they're just like a nice place where you could meet up with other hikers and connect with people as well, being a common place. And then there was the refuges, which were manned and usually paid. Quite common, as you said, through Europe. You can apply for just a bed, or you can get what's called a half board, which gives you breakfast and dinner as well, usually a 3-course meal.
Ooh.
Which might add, I know, you're like in the mountains, like in the middle of nowhere, and you're being served this 3-course meal. Like, living a life of luxury.
Yeah.
That's so good. And then, campsites were also fairly common, and open during the summer months, which I would typically stay in like once per week, have a shower, wash my clothes and such. But yeah.
So with the bivouacking, does that mean that you kind of just walked until you were done for the day, or was there like a destination for you before, like you kind of planned for?
I'm not good at planning. I'm terrible at planning. But usually the day of or the night before, I'll like look, and sometimes they'll have them marked out on the app that's like, oh, this is a really beautiful spot, you should stop here. And people have commented, because that's an option that, or given like reviews on what the area is like. Otherwise, I'd like look at the contour lines and, rivers and streams, and see if there was something that could be suitable based on that. But yeah, that's essentially how I would go about that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Hexatrek app a couple of times. Is that the main way that you navigated?
Yes. I mean, I'm a big fan, especially in Australia, of having like a physical paper map and, a compass, and making sure that you're equipped really well. I think France was a little bit different. It's so well signed out there. There's so many trails, and it's very inhabited. So I felt a bit more comfortable with just using the app. If I was to use maps, I probably would have had about a collection of 70 by now. So that was a bit unaffordable as well. There's lots of people out there too, so I felt a bit more comfortable doing it that way.
Is it because it's linked up other trails that have pre-existed?
Mm-hmm.
Is this actually marked as the Hexatrek, like with its own kind of like symbol, or is it not really?
Not particularly. They do have the symbol occasionally.
Yeah.
You'll see it and you take a photo of it because it's like, see it once every every week or so.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, there it is. But most of the time you're following, the markers of existing trails. A lot of them follow the GR routes, which is like the common routes in Europe. Some are quite long. And that's the little red and white flag. But yeah.
Yep. So the sections that are linking up the main, the existing trails, did that have like a noticeable drop off in quality, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. There were times, it's a through hike, so there are occasions where you're like walking on the road or going through bushland that does not have a path, but just you're following the GPS line on the map. That is my least favorite thing. And there was a section that I remember in the Alps where this wasn't a trail that existed, and there was like a thunderstorm coming in. And I was headed up to like the ridge of a mountain, and there's just no path, and I'm just screaming at this mountain like, where is the trail? Why are you doing this to me? And some guys came up behind me, and they were just in this state, and they were also very upset, visually upset, yelling, cursing, and we all joined together and made it past to see a really beautiful glacier that,
Oh, nice.
But trail quality, in that section in particular could exist. Some trail. But,
Just there to test you.
Exactly. Still part of it.
So while you're on the trail, and you said this in a few videos, your motto for the hike was commit to the adventure. Can you elaborate on this? Kind of how important was it to you along the way, and how other people, what they can take from that?
Yeah. So a through hike, you're going to experience a range of emotions. You're never going to be just like happy all the time. There's going to be moments of frustration, a lot of frustration, and where things don't go to plan. And sometimes that can be incredibly frustrating, but for me, that just like, when you look back and reflect, it's always like adds to the adventure and like what you experienced. So if I was ever feeling that, I was like, commit to the adventure, or if it was going to be hard, commit to the adventure, because it was just kind of my way of reminding myself that, if you can smile and, shift your perspective on a moment, it can just be so much easier as well, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like a personal motto to like egg you on to say like, I can do this.
Absolutely.
You're here to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because certainly in a lot of your videos, like I think the takeaway is Tilly is a very happy, smiley person who enjoys life, but you also included those moments where you weren't enjoying life so much to show like the real experience of what the through hike would be like, or how it was.
Yeah, and you're very hungry a lot. And I was hangry a lot. And maybe that doesn't show through. But to be honest, like I was very happy out there. And still, I'm a happy person in general, I like to think. But I had a great time out there, despite the frustrations that sometimes came and the hunger.
I mean, a lot of your videos towards the end featured some kind of food-related content.
Oh my gosh, it was insane how much food I was able to eat. I just sat down one day and ate a whole roast chicken, and I never felt more proud of myself. Like, I didn't know that was physically possible for me to do, but yeah.
Are you a Lord of the Rings person at all?
No, I haven't ever
seen
Lord of the Rings.
Seen in the extended version of Two Towers where Sam has a box of spices. And Frodo's like, what's that for? He's like, you never know, there might be a roast chicken. Just made me think of that.
So maybe next time I should bring some spices and make that reference.
Yeah.
I like that.
Although I don't think Samwise got his roast chicken after that. So
just lambda's bread.
Yeah. So maybe just enjoy the chickens when you can get them.
So I guess you've talked a little bit about you're generally a fairly happy person, and the food brought a lot of joy.
Oh, it does. Yes.
I guess can you talk about on the Australia experience? Can you talk about some of the moments of joy that you experienced in general, not just on the food front, and also some of just the tough points? Because I think with every hike, there's always bits where you're like, why am I doing this? And I'm sure that there would have been moments along this trail.
Yeah. So so much joy. I think the people make a lot of the joy for me in hiking. You meet some incredible characters out there who have done some insane things with their life, and are just so positive, and that's such a highlight for me. And I met some incredible people out there. In terms of the scenery, was stunning. The French Alps and the Pyrenees in particular were so beautiful. Such a big highlight. No, I would love to return there one day, I think. And the food, if I can mention it, the French food is so good. Like, I ate pastries pretty much every day, so
Wow.
I have to say it. I'm sorry.
No, this is great. I might be able to convince my wife that this is the one to do because she loves pastries.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, pastries. Oh, I dream. I haven't found anything that can quite satisfy me for pastry since I've been back, but and then some of the lowlights, there were some tough points in there as well. I think trail fitness, you really gain a lot of trail fitness in your first month out there, but then it goes down after that. So I kind of started decreasing after I did the really hard section of the Alps, and I was getting out of the Alps and I was just physically so destroyed. So that was really tough through there, and we had some bad weather that week. So the weather was a bit of a tricky part there. It was just raining and foggy and cloudy, and you couldn't see anything, which was a bit of low morale. And then after that, more weather related, was when I entered South France, and it was this absolute inferno. It was just humid and hot, and it's so exposed. That was really, really, really hard through there. And I never thought about quitting the trail per se, but I did contemplate a lot whether sections were worth my time. In particular, that section didn't have too much. I was walking through a lot of roads, a lot of farmland towards the end there. And I did actually end up skipping about 200 kilometers, I think it was, in the end of that section. They were the main low points for me. Yeah.
So that particular section, is it just a lot of just sort of boring road bashing to get through?
Yes. Yeah, to connect. There wasn't too many trails there. So the start of this section was absolutely stunning. You're walking through gorges through, next to the river. And there were some highlights for me where I got to kayak down one of the rivers. Awesome. Yeah, it was so cool. And because I decided that I was going to do a through hike this year instead of going back to canoe tripping, I was part of me was missing that. And so, we're on the kayaks, and it was just nice to be on the water. Even though it was absolute, it was insanity. There were so many people on the water. It was everyone was bumping into each other, and they were going down the rapids and crashing into the rocks. But it was great. It was such a fun day. It's like bumper cars, but on the water.
I was about to say, was that stressful given that was your job to not try and tell everyone exactly what they should be doing?
No, I just laughed, to be honest. I'd go down and turn around and just laugh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not my circus, not my monkey.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't matter if we capsize. We don't have 5 days worth of food and gear on board. It's all good. Yeah. It's a lot of joy.
While you were out there, did you find communication challenging? Because you didn't speak French before going. Is that right?
No, and I definitely don't speak now. I try my best, but I started to comprehend towards the end. But communication-wise, it was not too difficult. You could get by. You just try your best, and there is a lot of people who don't mind speaking a little bit of English, or and I think there's this stereotype, right, that people from France are quite impatient, particularly when it comes to language. But I found that stereotype it shouldn't exist, because there was a lot of patient, kind, excited people that you were just there experiencing France, and real France, like rural France, which is
I
so
think
cool.
that comes from the English.
Mm.
I think they treat the English very differently than they do the rest of the world. But did you have the typical foreigner experience in France where you're trying to speak French and they just respond to you in English?
Oh, yeah. I was just like, yes. Especially, at the boulangerie, or when I was trying to get on the bus, I'd hype myself up so much. I'd be sitting there just like looking like a crazy person trying to repeat French to myself. Are you going to do it this time? Won't stuff up? And they would, reply in English, and a little bit of part, you like kind of breaks, and you're like, oh. I'll get there one day. And towards the end, I wasn't, it wasn't English anymore. So I think that was like a good show of progress.
Yeah.
Maybe my accent kind of improved. It's hard to get the Australian accent out of other languages, I'm finding.
I mean, it's a hard language, I think, just to pick up if you're not like practicing every single day. And you're hiking through sections where you're just hiking with cows and other animals. They don't really speak it.
No, that's true.
So on a long distance hike, even like week-long hikes, you get out of a routine. It's like your everyday life changes a lot. And I mean, particularly I found your emotions tend to be a lot stronger when you're out there. Did you find that at all? And like, was there a big swing sometimes between the highs and the lows, or did you manage to even yourself out quite a lot?
I think it was pretty even out there, to be honest. I was surprised. I was expecting it to be more difficult emotionally when I was out there, but I found, I was pretty calm most of the time. It's only since actually I've finished, and I've been reflecting on this a lot, you change so much as a person. You're so present in the end out there. Like 4.5 months, you're just like in the wilderness. You've got your routine, your day to day. You're just, most of the day is spent observing what's around you and finding joy in all of, the little things. And then returning to civilization again is like a very, stark difference. And things are very busy and very chaotic, and it's very overwhelming, very overstimulating. And, the values of society look a lot different to that. And I found that the most challenging part is transitioning, back into what typical life is like, and the emotions that come with it, the nostalgia, the wanting to go back, and then trying to implement what I learnt about myself into normal life here. So that's hard. It's the hardest part emotionally for me. I was very joyful on trail. There were just certainly like peaks of emotions because it's hard. Some of the mountains, like you do 2,000 kilometers of climbing in a day. 2,000 meters. Whoa. 2,000 meters of climbing in a day, and you're
no wonder you were hungry.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But so at the end of the day, you're pretty exhausted. But with that, with the energy output comes, a lot of feelings, dopamine, endorphins. You've achieved something, and that's also the hardest part about transitioning back. It's like you're not getting that big endorphins hit every day. So I think that's why they call it like the through hiking addiction, because because
you're kind of almost like a time traveler. Even though you've got your phone and modern technology, is you're transitioning from how life used to be, although people didn't walk 3,000 kilometers in one go. Life was still a lot slower, and you had like more time in the day to do things that you wanted to do or needed to do. Whereas then going into modern life where everything is at you constantly, that must have been quite a big shock.
It was a big shock. But getting back into it slowly, and just trying to apply it, and get back out there as much as I can now that I'm back. But
I think it was interesting earlier you'd mentioned about how like it takes a month to get into the fitness, and then you peak and then drop off. Can you talk a bit about that? Because I think in your first video you said it was going to be like 4 or 5 months, but you finished it much faster. I think you finished in 3.5 months, didn't you?
4.5 months in the end,
Okay.
actually. So I was actually on time.
Okay.
But yeah, so in those first like month to 6 weeks, you're really gaining like your trail legs. So, you know, your calves are getting stronger, everything's getting stronger, your body's getting used to the fact that you're climbing and walking like 9-10 hours a day. And then, you know, your body, there's only so much nutrients you can give it out on trail. And it's a balance. Like it can be so hard to balance that out there. And I found that my nutrition probably wasn't that on point. A diet of pasta and oats every morning.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
probably and coffee. You know, there needed to be some veggies in there. You know, canned tuna with tomato sauce. It's not enough veggies, evidently. So after that, I kind of really focused on slowing down and, you know, getting good sleep and making sure that I was eating. I transitioned onto canned food, which was, you know, a big debatable topic and a point of interest that people love to chat about when I was, you know, hiking with them. But I found that really helped me. I took a few days off as well and just ate food for 3 days and that helps me. And I think the rest as well, right? Like sometimes you just need to sleep for a whole day and you know, just rest and you know, break the routine a little bit there. So taking 3 days out felt like forever. I was like on a holiday. I stayed in an Airbnb and yeah, towards the end I was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go back again. But yeah, so I was kind of in a low there, and then I climbed back up again, and then towards the end, I think you just know it's the end. My body was starting to feel very, very fatigued. I think after 4.5 months of you know, pushing yourself like that, it starts to wear down a little bit. But yeah.
So when you started, what sort of Ks were you doing? And then you reached obviously like a peak, and then you kind of went back down to, I guess, a more reasonable level. What will you say K-wise you were doing?
I was really hard on myself on the first 2 weeks that I was only going to do like 20 odd kilometer days because I know myself and I would push myself. But I was very strict on that because I knew that I wanted to condition, especially my legs and ankles, to get back into walking again and not create any injuries. So that was what I was kind of doing the first 2 weeks, and then I started pushing into 30 kilometer days. From there, it was a lot gentler, the terrain. And then after about a month, you hit the Alps, which is so starkly different in terms of elevation. And then suddenly, you know, you're doing like 1,700 meters of elevation gain a day, which is quite a lot. And then suddenly you're doing like 2,300 meters of elevation a day and then 2,300 meters of descent in a day, which is like insane. And so when it got to that part, I was actually only doing about 20 kilometers a day through there as well. And it's just, the gradient is just so steep. Steep.
That's just incredibly humble of you just to say, just only doing 20 kilometers with 2,300 meters of ascent and descent as well, which is like, if you're from
hard.
WA and like go do Bluff Knoll, what's that, 4 times?
Yeah.
And then add some kilometers.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's about kilometer wise, it's fine. But
the same.
Yeah, up and down 4 times with a heavy pack as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kept comparing it to Bluff Knoll and putting that into perspective was like, oh wow, actually, like, oh wow, I've actually done quite a lot. Yeah. You know, so I think like it was nice to have that comparison.
And then to back it up day after day after day.
Yeah.
That's like
the Tour de
seriously
Écran,
impressive.
which is like in the like southern part of the Alps, that was like day after day after day, just like 8 days of like 22 kilometers, 2,400 meters up, 2,400 meters down every day. And that's like, after that, that's when I hit my low in my trail fitness. Not trail fitness, but energy wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's justified, actually.
Yeah.
And bringing it back to Bluff Knoll, like, you're not getting a staircase up this either. You're getting like rock scrambles and like having to navigate, like not knowing where the path is because it's just rocky, like wilderness.
Grass. grass up. The grass was the worst when you can't see what's underneath it. Yeah. And then after the Alps, it flattened out again. And I was like, oh, I'm going to like smash the kilometers. And because I was on a time crunch then. And it's not because I wanted to like race through it, because I'm not about that at all. But I was on a time crunch to get to the end of the Pyrenees at a good time. Otherwise, it was going to start snowing. And I didn't particularly want to be out there when it's that cold. But then when I got back to like less gradient and was starting to try and do like high 30 kilometer days again, my body was like, what is this? Like, I am used to climbing up things, not across things. So it's really hard. And then, back into the Pyrenees. I was relieved to be back in the mountains. I was like, this is, and the Pyrenees were hard. That was where the scrambling was really present, was in the Pyrenees. But it's kind of what it was like.
So what we're learning is Tilly's more a mountain goat and not like a kangaroo.
That was my trail name, was mountain goat. But that's because I use all four limbs to like climb, because I like stability.
Randomly headbutt people.
Oh, I can't say I did that. But...
Do you feel that because you didn't like go crazy with like 50 kilometer days, that you got to enjoy the experience like personally?
Yeah, for me, absolutely. I much prefer to take my time and not push myself too much. And I think people have different goals when they go out to through hike. And everyone, it's like hike your own hike is such a big saying, and I truly stand by that. For me, the reason why I hike is because I like to see what's around me, and I like to take my time. I like to stop a lot and take photos and video and really enjoy and soak up what France has to offer. Because for me as well, it was a holiday. That's how I like to experience places. So
yeah, Mark and I were actually talking about that in the last episode, how we kind of really enjoy just going quite slow. Like, you talk about how you always look. I've gone hiking with Mark, and he's like, "Oh, look at this orchid! Look at it!" It's just constantly stopping. And then I did a trail at the start of last year where it was so easy. It was like half days, and I had a nap in the afternoon. I was like, "This is wonderful."
Absolutely non-negotiable for me is a nap. Yes.
And I was like, yeah, this is great. And like, I did a really hard hike before it, and it was like just lovely to have a easy holiday hike after it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, a nap. Oh, the best part of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the afternoon is just like you fly through it because you're just so like you're ready to go again. Yeah, definitely stand by that.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned already a bit before that the people for you really made the trail as well. Can you talk about some of your favourite people along the trail without like forgetting names or feeling like you're disrespecting other people, but like your favourites on the trail?
Oh my gosh.
I know Charles popped up quite a bit in your videos.
Indeed, yeah. So initially I started walking... Oh, there's so many. So on my first night, I met 3 French men. They like came into camp at 7 p.m. and I was like, a bit nervous because they were speaking French, and I was like, oh no, I wonder if they're going to speak English, And they were so nice. And so that was Charlie, Lionel, and Matthew. And Matthew and I have stayed in contact, and Lionel actually met again at the end of the hike, and we hiked the last 2 weeks together. We were completely separate. We spent like maybe first week like bumping into each other, then we're kind of a little bit in contact in the middle through email, and then at the end for 2 weeks we like walked a lot of it together, and we finished together as well, and we got on really, really well. Same sort of demeanor and energy, and walking pace as well, which I think is important when you're hiking with people. And then Gary, who's from the UK, in his 50s, lovely guy, just so friendly. And there was some tough days in there. It was so much rain, and Gary was just such a bright spirit and really appreciated his company. And through Gary is where I met Charles and Anne, and we walked together for like 3 weeks, which felt like forever. And Charles is like he's from Paris, like likes to, you know, sit at a cafe, like very Parisian. It's so brilliant. And Anne is just this like lovable, she's like a tattoo artist. She was so much fun and just like loving. And she went back to her hometown at the end of stage 2, so it was sad to part there. And Gary and I kept meeting up after that as well. And then in the second part, I met so many people. I met Beck, who was also from Australia, and we'd been in contact through Instagram. So it was so cool to like meet up, and we walked together for like quite a bit. And she was also hiking with another guy who was French, called, his trail name's Hurricane. His French name is Corentin. I'm pronouncing that atrociously, which is why I think he goes by the name Hurricane. And, you know, we had a lot of fun. We did the river section together and a lot of the Pyrenees. And yeah, there was also another couple that we met who were Australian, who were just, you know, everyone was just so friendly and loving out there. And everyone has their quirks, and you know, it's just so joyful. But yeah, so that was the main characters.
I mean, you seem like a very sociable person naturally. How was it like dealing with, because everyone's on a different timeline, how was it dealing with like meeting new people like every day or a couple of days and new faces coming in and out of your life?
Yeah, I like the variety. You know, like didn't particularly walk with a group for like a very, like sometimes I would just go off for a night by myself because I am very energetic, but I would say I'm still on that introverted side. Definitely gain energy from being by myself. So there were times where I had to kind of like diverge off and, you know, maybe spend a night alone, and then I'd come back with lots of energy again, and would spend time together. But yeah, I like the variety and interacting with new people. I just love learning about everyone's stories. So yeah.
Mm. So I feel like people are different on trails because, like, as you said, you're on holiday, like you're being your best self. Nothing's really like dragging you down like work or responsibilities of home life, that kind of thing. So everyone's kind of free to be who they naturally are, which must be refreshing meeting that all the time and spending that amount of time with people.
It is. And, you know, saying that, I think everyone just shows up authentically who they are. You're right in that, like, they don't have to present in any particular way out on trail. And it's nice because when you meet someone, you feel like you automatically know them out there. There's this barrier doesn't exist anymore. You know, it's really nice. Like you know, might offer to share a meal or, you know, spend a night, you know, camping in the same place. And I think that's really cool, the connections that you make without that, like, barrier.
Mm.
Yeah.
So other than people, I guess the thing that's really kind of, you know, I have no concept of what you would see out there is the animals. Like, you know, in Australia, I can think, okay, we're going to see kangaroos. Maybe, you know, if it's the East Coast, we'll see wombats. Maybe we'll see some farm animals if we're crossing farmland. What did you see out there?
Yeah, I didn't actually know what I was going to see.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a surprise. And it was a great surprise. Like, I saw a lot more than I anticipated. The first thing I saw was cows, and I saw a lot of cows. The French name for cows is vache, and I would always be like, bonjour, vache, you know, because I'd walk through the paddocks and they'd be looking at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, please don't charge me. Oh, that's so, yeah. I love cows, but I was charged a couple of times, and that was
really?
It was just like running with this heavy backpack. There was one point I had to like jump an electric fence. That was in Switzerland. The cows in Switzerland, I felt, were more aggressive. Okay. I don't know why. French cows were just a little bit more standoffish and a bit nicer, but yeah.
Was it the German part of Switzerland?
Yeah. Perhaps. So maybe, the cows. So yeah, the cows. And then there was the sheep. Sheep were great, but where the sheep come, the patu, which is the mountain, the flock protection dogs. So they're typically the breed, like the Great Pyrenees. They come in other breeds as well, the dogs, but they don't have very good eyesight. So their job is to protect the flock from any predators, because a lot of the time the sheep aren't kept in fenced areas. They're kept like on the mountains, and they just all wander together. And so the dog's job is to protect from like foxes or, you know, wild boars or anything else that are out there after the sheep. And they will bark and they will bite if they don't realize that you're a human or you're getting too close to the sheep. So I was very cautious of those. You're meant to walk in groups around them and take a really wide berth usually, and, you know, to not be too aggressive, you know, in your yelling at them like, hi, I'm a human. Meant to be quite calm. So I was a bit nervous about that, but I didn't have any bad experiences with them. I was very lucky. A lot of other people that had very scary experiences. When you're walking 3,000 kilometers, like, and passing through that many flocks, you know, you just got to be, cautious about it. And then in the mountainous areas, that's where you get the cool animals, like the chamois, which are, or ibex, as we say in English.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, they're so cool. They're cooler than mountain goats, like how they just traverse up the rocks. They've got their big horns and they're just very majestic creatures, and they usually hang out in groups, so got quite a few of them. My second day in the Alps, we walked through a huge flock of them, and they're just hanging out, like looking at us. And then in the Alps comes the marmots, which are like land beavers. That's how I describe them. They're like the cutest little things ever. And they're like wiggle their tails. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. And they like stand up as well and like little meerkats, you know, and look at you. And when they're fighting with each other, it's just like cute. They look like they're playing.
Yeah.
It's like they're like frolicking, and you feel very Sound of Music when you see the marmots. I think if I was to come back as a creature, I'd want to be a marmot. I like their life.
That's a good choice, I think.
Yeah. And then the other creatures, wild boars.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yes. Oh, that was when I was going through South France, and I saw one run through across the trail. Now, in Western Australia, I've heard the pigs go through the forest, and they're like cannonballs when they go through the forest. They're like, you know, you hear them like crash through, and it's really like quite intimidating when you hear them go through. But I'd never actually caught a glimpse of one. And then I saw a wild boar in the early morning one day. No, sorry, it was the evening, and with the little wild boars, piglets. I don't know what you would call the baby ones, but
Piglets,
with
ballets.
so and they're the ones that are meant to be like aggressive because they're protecting their young. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to camp somewhere soon. There's no designated camp spot. I'm probably going to be camping alone
With pigs and
with the wild
the
boars.
Yeah.
I was so terrified. You know, I just had to, hang your food up. And then the next morning I saw one too, and it stopped on trail and it looked at me, and I was ready. I was ready to climb a tree. I was ready to ditch the backpack and climb a tree, but thankfully we just, stared at each other for a second and then it ran off again. So much still it's scary. Maybe because I just woke up.
Because I had that in Queensland. It's like I've seen them in WA, but they just kind of run off. But in Queensland I had the same thing. I saw the mother boar and then the piglets, and I was like, this is usually a bad thing. And I was like, what do I do? I'm in the middle of the rainforest. I have to use the trail to get anywhere. And they just ignored me. Like I could walk within a metre of the piglets and the mum would just look at me and then keep foraging. I was like, this was unexpected.
It's very brave of you. I think I would have walked the other way.
I mean, I was fully prepared to climb a tree.
Oh, yes.
I was just like, after all, I'm like, okay, I can go this way, so I will.
It's very brave of you.
Yeah.
Oh.
But in the middle of the night, you like didn't get any surprises, like fall on your tent, like cows tend to do, or sheep.
Oh, well, yeah. They're the cows in Switzerland. Switzerland again. There you go. The cows in Switzerland. We woke up and there was like bells. And I was like, oh, those bells sound very close. And I like opened up the tent as this cow like literally looking at me. It's like 5 a.m. I'm like, good morning. Bonjour, vache. Why are you here? Like, and it wasn't just one cow, they come in herds. There was 20 cows. Just like,
have you heard about our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ?
And then they just was super curious. So when they like kind of the ones wandered away from my tent, I got out of my tent because I was like, I really don't want like a 1-ton animal to squish me. And then there was like a cabin and we were just like watching the cows, and then one got very invested in Charles's tent and stepped on the tent and ripped it.
Oh no.
I know. So then I used my my farm skills from school and herded the cows away. They were very stubborn cows. But yeah.
Food and drink has been a bit of a topic this podcast so far. But in terms of like logistics on the trail, like how far away are you from a resupply point or a supermarket or anything? And did you have any favourites of like pastries? I know you had a favourite baguette that you would get everywhere. Like every second video, it seemed like you had one in your hand.
Yeah, so food. Resupplies were quite, accessible, which was part of the reason why I chose the Hexatrek, because I'm a big fan of food. And being able to access food, in a few days, every few days was, a huge appeal point for me. So you were never too far away from town. I mean, I did carry food sometimes, 7 days. And there was one point, if you chose to do the high route Pyrenees, where you would have to do about a 10-day food carry unless you hitchhiked off the trail. And that's the other thing, like hitchhiking is very normalized in the mountainous regions of France. So you were never too far away from being able to get into a town or a resupply, including all the refuges as well. Like food was, you were never going to be stuck without food. In terms of my favorite pastry, that's such a big question. I think in the end it was a pastry called Chausson aux pommes, which is like just like an apple Danish, essentially. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from that if anyone's listening who is French.
Sounded all right.
No, just comparing it to a Danish.
Oh,
yeah. No.
How dare you?
I know, sacrilege. No, so that's, like an apple pastry that I really, really loved. And then, the classic, I just liked a croissant as well. And the baguettes there was like this curry chicken baguette in like that I was getting a lot of in South France. So good. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, it was food super accessible, and really enjoyable. I ate a lot of like cassoulet, which is like a casserole in a can, and beef bouillon, yeah.
In a can,
which is not, super authentic.
Feel the ultralight hikers just like tensing up and cringing.
Yeah. 400 grams, plus extra, because then I would like have it with rice or something.
But if it was good, then it's all good, right?
And in those sections, I was only carrying like food for a day or two, So it's and there's you can dispose of rubbish a lot more easily than like for example Australia. You would have to really consider what you're taking for your waste, because you're carrying it a long way usually. But rubbish bins were very accessible. So,
Mark and I once did a hike, and we saw a couple on the South Coast track, and they had tinned food every night.
Oh my gosh!
And we were like,
do you
whoa!
Have, like 30 kgs in his backpack to start. And then, but what's like sausages at night?
Yeah, they had like tinned sausages that they'd open up, and they're just like, just want to enjoy life.
I can respect that. That's cool.
Yeah, and you have to carry all that out as well.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Another guy on the overland do that as well. Between him and his partner, he had 35 kgs on his back. And they pulled out like a kilo bag of oats and a kilo bag of something else and like big jars of peanut butter. I'm like, I mean, you're a big man, so you like big strong man, so you're happy to do it, but like that's a lot.
Yeah, that's more than I could carry.
Yeah.
Talking about carrying a lot, I met a family on the trail who were hiking with their 4 children. So there was one, the baby was maybe 9 months old, I want to say, when I met them. There was a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and the 2 parents. And they were walking the whole Hexatrek together, which was amazing. The dad was carrying about 40 kilos. And then the mum, like 35, I think, with the baby as well. So she had the baby, and then the dad's pack was huge. It was one of those 80-litre packs, and he had like extra on top. And then the kids, like the 4-year-old, 7-year-old, and 9-year-old, walked independently for most of it, which was the most incredible thing to see. But yeah.
I mean, that's a life experience as a kid.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah. Yeah, so much. My hat's off to them. And they were lovely, so nice. And we stayed quite in a few Airbnbs together and like had a few dinners that we all made together, which was, so much fun. Yeah, cool people.
Awesome.
So Tilly has left Canada, has decided to do the Hexatrek as her big trek instead of the PCT. You're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, arriving to do the Hexatrek. Did you expect to gain like 20-odd thousand social media followers like pretty much almost instantly?
No. No, not at all. No. That was a huge surprise. And it happened in the second week of my walk. And I a lot of the time I have my phone on airplane mode and low battery mode. And so I kind of switch it on like once or twice a day. And then I remember I just posted my first like official video, hi, this is day 1 of walking 3,000 kilometers across France. And then I woke up and I had 2,000 followers. And I was like, whoa, that really like gained a lot in the first day. And then the next day I opened my phone and it was like 10,000. And then eventually after a week or so, we got up to the 20,000s. And that was a bit overwhelming initially. I was like, wow, that's a lot of people. That's like half of the MCG. That's, quite a lot of people. And initially that was quite overwhelming. But I just kept not thinking too much about it, not anticipating, or overthinking how I was going to present or what it was going to look like in front of all these people. I just wanted to keep it authentic, and I was like, oh, if they want to follow along and keep following along, then they can.
Yep. So you said it was 2 weeks in before you posted the first videos?
Yes.
Yep.
I had a delay.
Okay,
I think to help with the editing process and also safety. If you're posting publicly, you want to maintain
some space.
About where you actually are on trail and that. I didn't anticipate it would get this big. But...
And did you edit on your phone as you were going?
Yeah. So I had a little retune in the end, like I film during the day. I didn't have usually a plan. I was just like, oh, that looks cool. And I would just like click the film button on my camera. That's kind of how it went. And then, so in the evening, I would like join all my little videos together. And then I would write a little piece on my notes app on my phone. That was kind of like a journal entry for me. And then the next day I would post in the morning the video like that was due to be posted. At lunchtime I would record the voiceover for the one that I'd put together the night before. And I would draft the post on Instagram so it was ready to go. And that was kind of my routine of how I structured it all. And sometimes I would do like a few at once and like draft them so they were just ready to like push the button when I had reception.
Yeah, cool.
That was how I did it. But I just did it all on my phone. I had an app that I used, I think it's called InShot. And then I had enough storage, and actually everything is still on my phone as of now. So
because that's what I was going to ask, like how do you just like constantly have the storage kind of thing?
Look, I don't know. It's actually kind of amazing that it managed to do it, but
But the plan was, and from the very start, to do like little videos, because we'd followed each other on your personal Instagram account, and then you created Tilly Hikes for this.
Yes.
So you obviously wanted to document it.
Yes.
And then not expecting it to blow up as it
No,
did.
so I just created that one because I was like, you know what, my followers on my personal Instagram, maybe not all of them want to see like a daily video, so I'll just create something that, people will have the choice of viewing. And then I thought, you know what, I'll make it public because I found it a really good resource when I was researching about the Hexatrek to look at other people's videos. And I really enjoy doing that as well, anticipating what I'll see and watching other people's journeys and their take on it. So I was like, I'll just make it public. And then, that's kind of how that happened.
I mean, it sounds like you had a very streamlined process that didn't really take too much away from the like day-to-day enjoyment of the trail. But was it tough knowing that many people were watching to have the expectation? And then also, I'm guessing you would have had a lot of people messaging you with like lots of support or questions or not feedback, but kind of, yeah, like general messages.
Yeah. Yeah. Initially it was a lot to take in, you know, it was quite overwhelming having a lot of eyes on me. But then I kind of removed that. I got so much support. Like everyone was so nice. I was very, very lucky, I think, with the community that I managed to have on Instagram. And I some of the highlights for me were the inspiring stories that I was receiving. You know, especially some of the younger viewers that their parents had, you know, their children watching as well, and the kids would like message with questions through their parents' Instagram. And, you know, being a teacher, I really appreciate, you know, working with children and inspiring children. That's, you know, part of what I love to do with my life as well. So that was a huge highlight and a massive motivator and an inspiration to me. You know, other people who were like, oh, look, like I've really been inspired by your videos. I'm going to, like, my plan is to do this other hike now. Thank you so much. And that, you know, that just was incredible and a huge motivator for me to like keep going, keep posting. So yeah, it was just an all round really positive experience for me. There was like a time towards the end where I was getting really tired and I decided to like take a week off. And often I would like post on my story being like, hey, like I'm alive, I'm thriving, you know, don't worry, like I'm just taking a little bit of time, you know, to be fully immersed. But I still get messages of people that hadn't seen that being like, Tilly, you're alive, like we're ready to like call someone. And I was like, oh, it's okay, I'm all good, everybody. Like, yeah, great community out there. Was very, very lucky.
And a lot of people were ready to support as well. Like you started a Patreon because people were like, how do I give you money? Which I can imagine would be very awkward.
It was a little bit awkward. Still feel a bit awkward about that. But, you know, people were really keen to show their support and they really appreciated, you know, the little videos that I would post every day. Some say it would be a highlight and like, oh, how nice. That was so sweet. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when I was going through a bit of a tough stage last year, like it was riding the bus to work, I would hear the welcome to, you know, day so-and-so of walking 3,000 kilometres along the Hexatrek. Like that lifted my mood immediately. So it was always nice to hear those videos.
The good feed. Morning.
Yeah.
I think that's what.
And then just like that face and just not knowing like what was going to come out.
Oh, and you know, you never know if there was going to be tears on the video that day. But no. I had again so much feedback and it just brings me joy. Like things like that, just like what you've just said, just bring me so much joy. The messages were sometimes, you know, it's really hard to keep track of because some end up in the requests and then there'll be comments on the video and it would be hard to sometimes reply to them all. And sometimes I go back through the video and went, oh, I didn't reply to all those messages. Like some lovely comments there. But yeah, sometimes it was hard to keep up with the messages and the comments. But I hope, everyone knows that I really, really appreciated them and I read every single one of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So after walking through the mountains, you finish at the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
And how did you feel? You know, how did that feel after walking 3,000 kilometers, coming to that point where you're at the ocean and it's the end?
That's really hard to put into words, but I could see the ocean for a few days before I arrived. And I remember when I first saw the emotions, it was hard to feel like it was real. And it never felt real that I was done until like I returned to Australia 2 weeks after I'd actually finished, right. You know, I'd been back traveling and was seeing friends and it still didn't feel like I'd finished. But seeing the ocean, you know, it was a little bit of like, oh, actually this is concluding. And, you know, the feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm almost done. Like I've done it. Like nothing has stopped me. Like there's not much between now and the end that could go wrong and stop me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm almost there.
So how long, how many days before you got to the end that you see the ocean?
So about 3 days, I want to say. Yeah, the third day. We saw it in the morning. It was like the last time I'd gone up above 1,000 meters. And yeah, I was just sitting there. And I cried for like 20 minutes. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's the ocean. And in Canada, I hadn't been much to the ocean. Like, I think I went to Vancouver, but I hadn't swam in it. And I don't know, being from Perth, from Western Australia, the ocean's such a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
And I just, like, I missed it. Like, I missed the salt water to swim in it. And the waves in particular, because I swam in salty water when I went on the other side of the Pyrenees, like maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks beforehand. But the waves, and I remember I saw the waves and I was like, oh my gosh, there's waves, because I didn't know if there would be waves. And yeah, so arriving at the beach, I was just, yeah, it was it's so hard to explain, but a lot of gratitude, you know, like I felt so privileged and so lucky that I'd been able to do something like that, you know, physically and financially and situationally in my life, like, you know, huge privilege. Very, very grateful that I had that experience and met these amazing people and saw this beautiful country. So yeah, it was just like this massive reflection on, on what I had done. And, you know, it was just kind of standing there thinking about the whole journey and, you know, the fact that it was 4.5 months, which is such a long time, but also such a short amount of time in your life. But yeah, so yeah.
Because your reel about that final day is very touching and moving. And you finished, like, what was the night like when you'd finish? Like, I'm guessing you slept quite a lot over the next, and ate quite a lot over the next couple of days, but like, what was it like trying to transition back into, like, I'm not walking tomorrow? Like, what happens?
It's such a weird feeling when you're not walking. Like, you just crave walking. You crave movement every day, and that was the hardest thing. I'm usually really good on flights. Like, I can sit there for my 12 hours and, you know, be sort of sane. But where I noticed it the most was when I was sitting on my flight back to Australia for that 12 hours, and I was in the middle seat and I was actually going insane. Like, I have to move my body. Like, please let me out of this, like, cage. So yeah, that was where I really started to notice. And it was, yeah, there was my sleep. I realized that I actually didn't need as much sleep as I do in normal life to function when I was hiking. So yeah, the sleep, I did sleep a lot, and it was nice to sleep in a bed towards, like, probably a month after. I was, like, really appreciating the bed. But initially I was like, give me my tent back, please. I just want to sleep in my sleeping bag under the stars. I want to feel the breeze. Like, I think that's what I missed the most, being out there, was the breeze when I slept. Such a weird thing, but yeah.
Now that you're home, do you ever just, like, set up the tent in the backyard and just camp and put on some cowbell ambient music and pretend you're in the Alps somewhere?
I actually can't say I have done it. It's crossed my mind to do it. But yeah, our backyard isn't very well conditioned in Mount Barker, where I was staying with my parents for that. And in Perth, not so much. But yeah, it definitely crossed my mind a few times. Just want to sleep outside. Yeah. I said to my friends, because I stayed with quite a few friends across Europe, I was like, don't worry, like, if you've got a backyard, I'll set up my tent. They're like, no. I'm like, yes, like, I would prefer that.
You'd be happy with it, yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
No,
please
let me. You are famous Tilly Hikes. You want to stay in the grand bedroom.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, I missed that the most. Yeah.
So being a new trail and one of kind of the pioneers on that trail as a thru hiker, what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about doing the Hexatrek as their next long distance trail?
I would say 100% go for it. There was a lot of people who were quite new to hiking on the trail, who had never done an overnight hike before, who were out there giving it a go. It's a great trail to start off, like, your thru hiking journey. So 100% I would go for it. Advice-wise, the visa is the hardest part. You need to do your research. You need to understand that it's going to cost a little bit of money because you need to get to a capital city to go in person to do an interview. And you also need to make sure that you're having good insurance. There's some conditionals about that it needs to have repatriation on their one-page description of it. So you need to have insurance for the whole time, and there's a lot of other documentation that you do need. So I would recommend doing that and researching that nice and early. It is a little bit nerve-wracking because you can actually only apply 3 months out from your trip, and you don't know whether or not it is approved until you get your passport back in the mail and you open it up and go, oh, there's my visa. Guess I'm going. So yeah, the visa process and that is probably the trickiest part. And I would say definitely do your research into the long stay. I think it's a type D visa if you're planning on going for more than 3 months. On the website it says the Hexatrek can take 3 to 5 months. I would definitely say 4 months to 5 months is a reasonable time to do it so you enjoy it. But if I was to go back and do it in 3 months, I would recommend you prioritizing stages 2, 3, 5 and 6, which are the mountainous stages of the Alps and the Pyrenees. So yeah, that's my advice about getting out there. You don't need to worry too much about your French, as long as you go in there with an open mind and a keenness to give it a go. It's yeah, you give yourself 2 weeks to settle in, and I think, yeah, if you just go in with a positive attitude, it's all going to work out. So yeah,
Yeah.
Commit to the adventure.
Commit to the adventure. Yeah.
Speaking of committing to the adventure, do you have any other adventures planned coming up?
I do. There is potential that I'm going to Europe in June to walk a new trail, which I'm super excited about. And so that will be 3 months long that I am planning. It kind of crosses the Via Alpina, which is something that I plan to do anyway because I love Europe hiking, it turns out. After doing the Camino and the Hexatrek, really, have a soft spot for, European hiking. So hopefully that all goes to plan. And I'm really, really excited to get back out there. In the long run, I would love to, the Larapinta is high on my list for Australian adventures that are a little bit, achievable with a career. And I need to get to Tassie as well. I've been wanting to go there for ages. I would love to do some other long trails as well. But time permitting, you're just in time.
That's such a balancing act.
Yes.
As a professional, then trying to get time away to do stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. It's there's a long bucket list, but you just need the time to do it.
Indeed. I think I'm in the right career. I'm in exploration geology at the moment, and, there's a lot more contractual work out there. So it does allow for that, but it's still hard as well, maintaining your home life and that as well. But yeah, it's all a balance.
Yeah. Well, big thank you, Tilly, for coming on. That was an amazing recollection of what was, a pretty big 4-month journey for you, and would you say a life-changing experience?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I mean, I've messaged you this a few times while you're out there, but your presentation style in your reels was just very genuine. There was no, welcome to my channel type of attention grabbing. You were very real about, I'm on top of the world, or things aren't going great today, but things will get better.
Yeah. I think that's how I want to come across, genuine.
Yeah.
I want to be relatable because, I think it's more realistic.
Yeah, it's just very refreshing to see in a feed of people trying to grab your attention in 2 seconds. So it was a privilege to follow you along your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
If people want to follow look back at your previous adventure and follow your future adventures, they find you at Tilly Hikes.
Yeah, just on Instagram at Tilly Hikes. And that's where I am.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Indeed.
Thanks very much for coming in.
And thank you for having me. I listened to your podcast actually while I was out there, which was, I enjoyed listening to it. So thank you. It's like a privilege to be here and be on it. So,
Did it put into perspective, like Don whinging about burnt jarrah? it could be worse.
I think I listened to like the episode of like what makes a good trail, and they're hiking through the Alps. I'm like, yeah. A lot of recollection, but I enjoyed it. So.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you everyone for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode or any other episode of Real Trail Talk, then please rate us on whatever platform you're currently listening to us on. Ratings really help us to reach an audience, especially those who are looking to learn about the outdoors in Western Australia and Australia in general. If you had any questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can email us at realtrailtalk@gmail.com or contact us through our social media channels. Thanks again, and stay tuned for our next episode.